Gilbert and I are in Oakland, California to help our friend Javier set up his ideal man cave game room space. Levels. Welcome to Unusable.
Oh, we're on the show? Welcome to Unusable.
We're on the show.
Oh,
we're always on the show. It's not live, thank goodness.
We're recording.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Yeah, speaking of, we have a special guest again. I think we referred to you as friend of the show, but you haven't been on this show. You're friend of the old show.
True.
You're still friends with the show.
Who are you?
I'm Javi. If you've
He means
may have
existentially.
seen- yeah.
No, I mean literally.
Well, that's my name.
At Javi.
Yeah, at Javi on Twitter. I've been on Editor like this. Yeah, so this is, I guess, if we count
times.
both, this is like the third or fourth time.
Yeah, but this is a new show.
Yeah.
Unusable is a show about the stuff that we love. You are a person that we love, so you're here. No, it's also that. But we're here because we're transforming. At this point, we transformed your game room, office space, man cave. We'll watch a piece about the transformation.
Yeah, it was fun.
Because we're gonna play this, and then we're gonna play the other video, the stuff that we recorded. But I guess first off, what do you use this room for?
Yeah. It's divided in 3 spaces, and I use it for those 3 things. There's work.
Mm-hmm.
There is gaming, console gaming, PC gaming, and sim racing, which is also gaming, but sitting on a racing chair with a steering wheel.
The Sims. Racing with the
Sims,
Sims.
yeah.
Which we'll see in the little clip coming up.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and I already could do all those things, but it was less than ideal in some ways. And I've been thinking about making this change before I bought this house, so many months. But I couldn't decide, couldn't pull the trigger. And also it was just a lot of work and a lot of things that I'm really terrible at. And that's why, Gilbert and Kyle coming here and helping me do this, I would have never been able to do.
So when you said the change, what are you talking about with the change?
So a lot of it was, the sim racing was good. It was well optimized for that. The workspace is fine. We haven't changed that a lot. But gaming in the center space, I had a desk with an ultra wide screen. It was set up for like PC gaming and it was fine for that, but that's what I did the least.
Yeah.
Playing console games, which is most of the gaming that I do, I did that downstairs in another TV, which, sometimes my girlfriend wants to watch TV there, so then I can't play video games. So I just found myself not playing as many games because of that. And even there, I wasn't enjoying as much. The couch is a little too far from the TV. And just having everything here is just really nice. I can just come here and pick whatever. I can, do some racing, do some gaming.
Awesome.
And yeah, I think we just picked the perfect, put the TV in the right place. We got an amazing sound system that I didn't have before.
From what brand?
We put a bunch of HomePods.
It's just a line of HomePod minis.
Atmos system with HomePods all over the ceiling. No, this has been a running joke the whole weekend. It's Sonos, which Gilbert hasn't shut up about since I met him. I don't know how. Probably
I've been a Sonos apologist for a long time.
But actually, I've been just ignoring him. And then my other friend Josh was like, "Why don't you put a Sonos soundbar?" And I don't know who suggested the rear speakers as well. And I was like, maybe. And somehow, I don't know. I told Gilbert and he was like, yes, you need to do that.
And now you have a crazy nice setup with it.
Yeah.
And
then I want to ask you, I feel like there's 2 things that we love here. And one of that's video games and one of that's sound.
Yeah.
Specifically the Sonos
Media.
setup.
Yeah.
Let's start with your Javi's love of games. So now you've got this space. You've got it optimized to play games, do your simulated racing. What is it about video games that you love so much?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a general answer for all kinds of video games. Because I don't know. I was gonna say I like a narrow style of video games. So maybe that's not even true.
I would say I'm a very narrow in my worldview of video games. I basically play things Nintendo makes, and that's about it. But let's specifically like racing and racing simulators. What is it that gets your blood pumping about racing and racing sims?
I've never really been a car person or anything. I'm not that kind of guy, but I did watch some Formula One growing up because there was a Spanish driver and he was kind of a popular thing, almost as popular as soccer for a while. Yeah. But I never even considered like, I could do some of that. I guess I did play Gran Turismo in the PlayStation 2 back in the day, and I enjoyed that.
And it seems so real back then too.
I know, it's so fun. I was playing Gran Turismo 7, I was like, this is exactly what it looked like on the PS2. So I had to look up a video on YouTube, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess not. I guess it wasn't 4K.
In another 20 years.
Yeah, this will look terrible.
Yeah, we'll say this looked terrible, but
yeah. We'll see the details.
Yeah,
at the very least.
But yeah, what is it about, especially with the racing sim? Your hands are on the wheel. You can put on a VR headset. Like how?
Yeah, I think.
Can you explain how that feels?
I realized, I can buy a cheap steering wheel for like $100 like 4 years or so ago. And, I used to have a steering wheel for the Xbox 360 and that was fun. So I was like, let me get that. I'll do a little bit of that. And I got into it and I realized actually this is really fun. And it's sort of a never ending process of wanting to get better. And that's a part that I enjoy. It's just a skill to develop. And we were talking about this last night. The thing with racing is that you get this like instant feedback. It's. I wonder if this can apply to other things that maybe other people can empathize with. Like I don't know, maybe learning an instrument or something. Like you're playing
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, maybe playing an instrument. Like you're literally every time you play a note. Yeah. It either sounds good or not. And like, over time it sounds better and better. And maybe that's the same sort of like feedback loop that you get this satisfaction of getting better. And with racing, you instantly know, am I going faster or not? You're constantly timing yourself.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that, the process of getting better and like, what can I learn that, to understand better how you race fast and all that.
So it started with a $100 steering wheel.
And then it's
it's
game over from there.
Yeah, how has it evolved to today? Where are we at today with your racing simulator setup?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is having a permanent rig. That was I was enjoying it a lot, but I was putting the steering wheel on top of a desk, so I had to remove the keyboard, I have to shift everything, plug everything in every time. That barrier meant that I wasn't doing it often. Sometimes I was just lazy to do that. And last year, I finally had a room where I could dedicate a little space to have a chair. Oh, here's the other thing. When you use just a desk and you use a normal desk chair that has wheels, guess what happens when you step on the brake hard? And often like you actually like end up pulling the steering wheel off the clamps of the table. So having a dedicated rig that is sturdy and you can push on the brake and push back on the seat and you're not rolling backwards. And then from there you get a better steering wheel, better pedals that can give you better feel. And it's just, I'm sure it's, I have pretty good stuff, but I'm sure like, in 2 years I'll have like even better stuff. Never, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, like your steering wheel has like force feedback, and not just like force feedback like $100 steering wheel would. Like how realistic can you say that your steering wheel when you're racing feels?
I'm not the best person to answer that because I haven't really done a lot of real life racing. Yeah. So I can tell you sort of what I've heard other people say and what I experienced, but I mean, it is a lot better. And real world Formula One drivers use some of this same equipment from this brand. I think we're pretty lucky that we live in a time when this stuff is, it's not cheap, but we're talking like $500, right? It's not like, $1 million simulator.
And you're not picking it up like at Best Buy. You're not walking into Best Buy and grabbing it.
But you go on a
website
shelf. And they ship it to you
in 6 months accessible. Or less.
Yeah, sometimes. But it's relatively accessible. And there's a community around it. There's there's add-ons. You can change the steering wheels. You can add new pedals. So you can evolve like that. You don't have to get this giant bundle that's really expensive all at once. You can slowly, incrementally improve some of the parts. And the force feedback. I mean, this is a direct drive wheel, so it's better than your Logitech sort of entry level
pulley type stuff. Yeah. Where's that wheel you had? Where'd it go?
You want me to go grab it? Which one?
No,
The magic of editing.
We'll pull it up in a little bit. Where do you see the future of this driving simulator, racing simulator technology going?
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, there are some clear things where like, incremental improvements of everything, right? The graphics, the steering wheels will get better over time, that sort of thing. VR has been, I think, a really big improvement. And I think a lot of that will come from it. It gives you this immersion that you don't get from other things. And so as resolution, field of view improve on VR, it's going to feel even more like you're actually sitting in a car. The biggest limitation of sim racing, though, is the lack of G's, the lack of
feeling it in your
inertia,
chest.
braking and turning. There are some motion platforms, but those can get really expensive, and
it's a platform that your whole chair sits on.
That you're like then moving and stuff.
It's not just the G's; it's also the feel of the car, what the engine's doing, how it's performing.
The rumble.
You can get some of that with sound, but it really doesn't.
They have
feel
some
the
like
same.
butt kickers too. Something
Exactly.
that will vibrate your seat. But, but you can always go a little far. But I think a lot of it's just assume it's still a game. There's some limitation.
Right.
You're doing the best with what you have, and it's actually there are already like international competitions for people that are doing sim racing, and those people are better at sim racing than real world like Formula One drivers because they live in that world that's in some ways more challenging sometimes because of the lack of feedback.
Yeah,
true. Didn't the F1 drivers during the pandemic all switch over to doing iRacing? I don't know what
they broadcasted those. I think that's gonna be pretty big.
That was their league basically for the time being.
Yeah.
Marbula One.
What?
The marble racing. So not only
we'll
did we
explain that in subtitles.
Check out Marbula One. It's marble racing. It's silly. We also, we installed this sound system. It's a Sonos sound system. Gilbert has a love-hate relationship with the Sonos sound system. I guess, Javi, what's your first reaction to having Sonos Arc and Sonos Ones as the rears, creating this like Dolby Atmos?
Yeah.
What have we listened to, and what was your reaction to it?
I should say it's not my first home theater system. I've had a cheap Vizio 5.1 system for years, so I'm used to surround sound. Of course, things have evolved since I got that, and this is more expensive too. I would say my first reaction, I think, when we did the initial calibration, where Sonos has you sit where you're gonna sit and play some sounds, my first reaction was, how is that possible? Because I was hearing sound coming off places where there were no speakers. There was only a soundbar in the front and 2 speakers in the back. That's it.
Yeah.
And I could hear sounds coming from directly 90 degrees to my side. So that was I felt really surrounded and immersed. So that was
3
mind blowing
speakers,
right away.
Essentially, there's multiple speakers in the soundbar, but
So it's
3 units.
Really, really good. I actually realized I only intended to have, might as well put a little bit of sound for games, even though I use headphones a lot of the time. But after we did that, I was like, oh my God, this actually also is going to be the best movie room in the house now.
Yeah.
That was sort of a happy accident.
It's also, but I said, you're not going to want to watch movies anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's predictable. And you also have a really good layout for this purpose. So it's a well formulated box for the purposes of sound and reflections and stuff like that.
And I feel like a lot of people are going to tell me, oh, but you shouldn't do that in the same room that you work from. And those people are right. But I only have so many rooms in the house.
Yeah, just imagine this is one room in the spaceship. This is one room.
I don't actually mind it. I'm okay with not getting distracted. Like in the middle of the day, I'm not like, oh, I want to play video games. Like I don't really want to do that.
The temptation isn't.
And what I do enjoy is I'm sitting working and I can glance over and look at this cool space and it feels good. I don't know, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So I think having it there is like it's just a nice room to, I don't know.
Very cool.
Be reminded of the things that I like. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, Gilbert, why did you recommend the Sonos system for Javi's setup?
A few things. Like first, the scalability of it is kind of the biggest thing. And then also, I have a ton of experience with it. I run 20 Sonos speakers in my house. It's ridiculous. And I would say the biggest downfall, and one of the things I want to emphasize with Javier, is scaling it like that causes your network to just crash.
If it's all on Wi-Fi.
If it's all on Wi-Fi, Sonos each speaker has a feed. Even if it's syncing them up, it's not sharing that feed for the most part. There are some exceptions to that, but especially if you try to increase quality or anything like that. So I would say like the biggest hurdle was like getting Ethernet to the rear and to the front here. We spent a lot of time doing that, but that's so. But once you do that, the reason why is it sounds excellent for what it is. So for example, like you're talking about how if you could feel the 90 degrees and all that stuff and the verticality of the Atmos, nothing's gonna really replace like actual speakers tuned properly. But I found that the Sonos Arc and the rears, and I really still think you should get a sub, which will be another leap, I think. It's past that threshold where it's good enough. It's kind of how I feel about the MacBook Pros now. Yeah. Like they've passed that threshold where like I don't feel like I need to worry about anything else. They're good enough as a desktop replacement. They're good enough as a laptop. Yeah. So pretty much everything I need. And it took a leap to do that. Yeah. And Sonos had that leap. And also the way they sync audio, the app actually works really well, especially if you're on Ethernet. There's very little lag. Even you said yourself, because you had been using like AirPlay 2, and that's a big draw for Sonos.
With HomePod.
But with Sonos, you're saying it was compatible. So even now you're finding yourself using the app more.
Yeah, I switched I have a small Sonos for outdoors, and I switched the audio from that to play here, and the latency was like less than a second. It was right away playing popped. Here. Yeah. And I was shocked because with HomePod, it's I think like 5 seconds. You're switching from one room to another.
So I don't know. It's just it's always so much. There's always so much cruft that comes with the Apple stuff, especially, and it's just like this is like a more dedicated system.
Right.
And I started to get really worried about Sonos because I felt like in about 2 years prior they were starting to make some really stupid decisions, like right after going public. And
gotta make those shareholders happy.
Yeah, and I feel like they've dialed a lot of that back. Like for example, they were really emphasizing as part of their whole S1. S1 is like the filing you do before an IPO. They had said that they're digging deep into voice assistants and shit like that, and they made their speakers slightly more expensive. And then also they had microphones, and the voice assistants suck. And all the Sonos owners are kind of very specific in their own little community of sound geeks. And then they started dialing that back. And in fact, you can get the SL versions. These are 1SLs. You can get an Arc SL specifically from Costco. Yeah. And they're cheaper, and they delete the microphones.
Hey.
And that's like a win-win to me. And people snatch them up because why? Why am I going to pay more for worse system?
Yeah. Yeah. Worst experience.
Yeah. Worst experience in every way. And so they started doing that. So it made me a little happier. Then the Roam came out, which I feel like
Sonos Roam is cool.
Yeah, it's a great little product. And then
portable, waterproof even.
Yeah, which I've had it in the bottom of my pool and taken it out. I've had it in the sand and in the ocean.
Nuts.
And they've held up. And I'm not saying they're perfect. None of these things are perfect. Like for example, like on the Wi-Fi, when you start adding more, they can really bog.
Yeah.
And they create their own little mesh network. But it's been the product like where everyone in the family loves it. Like it's one of those things where I feel good about it because I spent so much effort putting it in every room in the house. Whereas I've done a lot of little stupid like smart home stuff. No offense, we've both been down the smart home rabbit hole, but like I find that the returns are dramatically diminishing. Waiting for fucking Siri, waiting for Google Voice or whatever it is you're using, Google Assistant or Alexa, especially. Maybe I'll throw up. But so I've switches and having to maintain it all and smart. We both had same smart sprinkler system and just all this stuff. It just so much, and it's so much traffic on the network, and it's a great little hobby. But it ends up as I got older anyway. Like the returns and then diminish so quickly with it, and the novelty wears off very quickly. But there are some essential things that I see you have August locks and stuff like that, and HomeKit is atrocious. It's absolutely terrible. Maybe I feel like the next foray I have into it will end up being like more like a waiting for material to materialize, or something like that, where there's an actual standard and it's a default in homes,
right.
and stuff like that.
So the standard being kind of tying all of these voice assistants and their kind of subcategory to home apps to have a standard, so all of these smart home appliances.
Right.
And hopefully with a good technological foundation that's, low latency and good reliability.
Right. And then to the point of like why, like one of the things that about smart homes is like, I had mentioned in previous episodes that I want to put friction in places where that prevent me from moving more and reduce friction from places. So for example, like with a light switch, I'm much less inclined to get up and to go turn off the light.
Sure.
And that started to bother me in other ways, like that are relevant to like my issues with certain city layouts and stuff like that. And it all adds up.
The macro is the city layout. The micro is your own home.
Your own fucking light switch.
The couch, the distance from the couch to the light switch, yeah.
It makes a difference, and of course, like it's not, I'll just in the absence of smart home, like Pollux, can you turn off the light? Just make my kid
Children,
do it.
yeah, that's
basically what they're
in the
for.
past.
Another smart assistant.
Yeah,
In the past, your smart assistant were your children.
Yes,
and they milk the cow, they till the field, and they'd turn off the light switch for you.
But Sonos, like it crossed that threshold where everyone can use it. Everyone uses it fluidly and seamlessly. It's very straightforward. There isn't a big learning. I don't have to be the one to explain to Elise
and fix it.
why she goes, hey, do blank. Hey, dongle, do blank. And it sits there and it gives some snarky, stupid reply and it doesn't actually do it. Or it does it, or it does like half the light setup or half the scene, and then something else fails because it's like all these systems that have to come together in one pattern to make it work, or like it switches the input, but it doesn't realize the state of the TV is off versus on, or states are like a huge thing. Like you even said about your garage door going up versus down, like so that all that stuff is just not worth the time for me anymore. Like it's just, But Sonos it brings joy to everybody, and I find that everybody who kind of like invests in it ends up being like almost like a drug in a way, like just like smart home stuff, like
and
a
then
rabbit
you end
hole.
up with 20 of them in your house.
Yeah.
You have 20 of them in your house. I have one in my stairwell now.
It'd be nice if they just reproduced on their own. That would be great.
Yeah, and they were making some stupid decisions, and hopefully they've reversed that course, and they get better. But it's definitely one of those things where if you love music, it's almost a no-brainer. But yeah, highly recommended. But I'm glad you're happy with it so far.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you get a sub.
Plus, it was just great to come up and hang out with you.
Mm-hmm. See the house.
Finally see the house.
Welcome.
Finally see your new
Congratulations.
house.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
congrats
Yeah.
on the new house. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come back again and have another barbecue in your backyard because that was delightful.
What a mean burger. That was incredible.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's good stuff.
So thank you, Javi, for having us. Thank you to Nadine for putting up with all this construction
For
in your
sure.
guys' house.
For sure.
And I feel like we had a great time, great weekend building this out. And I hope you can join us again for another episode of Unusable.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the next project?
What are we gonna take apart in here next? So this has been Unusable. I'm Kyle.
I'm Gilbert.
And I'm Javi.
Follow Javi at Javi on Twitter, and we will see you next fortnight in 2
Something
weeks.
like that.
How do you use Fortnite?
In a fortnight.
In a fortnight.
Is that a video game?
Peace.
Bye.